In our series, How to Find Retail Buyers and Merchants, today we are going to talk about a very powerful tool, and that is LinkedIn. Stay with us. Today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great networking tool, not only for finding jobs or finding people in your industry, but it also can help you find a buyer's contact information. And we're going to discuss a couple tips and tricks on how to use it, at least how I've used it. And I've actually used it very recently, so this is fresh in my brain. But here's the one thing to keep in consideration first and foremost about LinkedIn and trying to find a buyer. First off, you have to understand that not everyone is using the same names. Some people go by merchants, some people go by buyers, some people go by assistant merchants. And here's the one key to LinkedIn that I would press upon you. It's not just about finding one person. Sometimes it's about finding some people around that right person. So if you're lucky and you find a buyer on LinkedIn, it's great. Number one, if they're using a tool like LinkedIn, they're probably pretty approachable. That means they're putting themselves out there. If someone is a kid shoe buyer at Walmart and they put that on LinkedIn, then they're almost asking to be found in some way, shape, or form, right? It is very easy for them because you can message them through LinkedIn, which is not what I do. It'll be a tip we talk about later. But that means that they're probably a little bit more approachable than some may be. But the other thing too is if they're not inside of that LinkedIn profile, that's okay, because there might be someone else. So the first thing is you're going to want to search on multiple things. This is going to be a fact-finding mission. This is when you're going to put on a detective hat. This is when you might spend a lot of time doing research and writing things down. So the first thing is understanding that a DMM, someone in Catman, a replenishment manager, there are a lot of people that are inside of that world that might not be the buyer, that might be able to get you to the buyer, right? If done correctly. And so you're going to want to search more on keywords like a specific retailer. If you're looking to get into Target, start with Target. If I knew that I was trying to get into Target, I would go find how many people work at Target that are on LinkedIn, and I would go through the list manually. I mean, if you're really into getting into a retailer, sometimes you're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to do that. Another way to search is through industry, right? And so you might let's use the shoe. You might be selling kids' shoes. Just do shoes. If you're trying to get into Target and you're trying to get into shoes, you might find the woman's shoe buyer or men's shoe buyer. So if you can contact that person and say, hey, I know you're not the kid's shoe buyer, but I couldn't find, sometimes depending on how you do that, they will pass you along. Now, they might not tell you that person's name, and I've had this a bunch of times, but if you've gotten to a buyer, so let's say a woman's shoe buyer at Target, and you say, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of the kid's shoe buyer, I can't find their information. What they'll do 9 times out of 10 is say, hey, I've sent your information on to them. If they want to contact you, then they'll do so, right? Sometimes that's about as close as you can get. Even that, though, is a win. If you can get in front of it, great. So let's talk about this. You're searching category, you're searching retailers, you're making a list. You might get someone lucky enough to say, hey, I found the kid's shoe buyer at Target. Great. One of the things that I do differently is I don't use LinkedIn to contact them. 9 times out of 10, when you use the message and stuff, I don't know where it goes. I don't know if it happens. I'm not saying don't. I would use that as the secondary resource. The way I do it, and here's my trick of the day, is if I find a buyer and it's Katie Odell, who's my sister, so I can use her name, and I know that at Bob's store that they use email addresses that go name.name@bobstore.com or first initial last name @bobs.com. I will actually try to send them a message from my email. Once again, please don't use Gmail. Like, you will get caught in a firewall, or they'll look at it and think you're phishing or won't take you seriously. But if you know that, I could go, okay, it's going to be katie.odell@bobstore.com. It might be Kathleen because that's her real name. You can go out and try a couple different things to see if you can land on it. If you can't, usually they'll get kicked back if they're not real. So I do katie.odell@bobstore.com. No such email. All right, I'm going to try kodell@bobstore.com. Kicks back. That's invalid. And then all of a sudden I'll hit a Kathleen.odell@bobstore.com and it doesn't come back. I'm like, all right, I think I made headway. There is also tools and resources out there that will allow you to see if it's been opened. I don't know how accurate it is. I think with some large organizations, it might trigger if it hits a firewall. But then you can know that it went through and that they actually opened it and looked at it. That's just a tip and trick that I use. If I can't make any headway that way, I would absolutely try LinkedIn to make that initial contact. So here's the deal. This is one of those things that I'm going to give you real life example of what worked for me and didn't. I was trying to get into a very large sporting goods store that I've never had any contact with. I tried my entire network, just couldn't get any headway. So I found a DMM. So a DMM is over departments. They're actually higher than buyers, right? Buyers will report to them, but I couldn't find the buyer. So what I did was sent him a message using the same thing. And I think I got like 4 or 5 kickbacks saying wrong. Finally, one went through. And it was very simple. Because I'm not dealing with the buyer, I simply studied a message like, hey, I was trying to get a hold of this person on your team. I just don't know who it is. Can you point me in the right direction? Sometimes it's simple. So just make it very simple. They don't need a dissertation on how you came up with a product and all this. Sometimes if you just talk to them like you've been talking to them for 10 years, it goes a really long way. So sent that message over, nothing, never opened, never got through. And so I actually went to the owner of the company and said, hey, why don't you try it from your email? Like maybe my email is just getting snagged. And then lo and behold, he sent it from his, saw that it was open. And then we started a conversation from that point. But all that just by going into LinkedIn, I looked up the retailer. I actually was using the industry because I couldn't find the buyer for the specific thing that I was looking for. Used the industry, actually got a higher up. And as opposed to being afraid, these are just normal people. They're doing a job just like anyone else's. And so you use that to contact them. So that's it. I mean, LinkedIn can be super powerful. There's a lot of people out there. They're trying to network. You can contact them directly. You can use a little tip of trying to figure out their email to make it a little bit more personal, hit them straight on. That's my opinion. Always good to fall back to have a backup plan in case. And you always don't have to get the right person. If you can get close and get around them, sometimes you can get close enough that you can get passed off to the right person. Another backstory on that, sometimes that if someone introduces you, that person that sent that email on for you has a relationship, they might think that you know them. Like, hey, this person got a hold of me, but wanted you. And they might automatically assume that, oh, this person knows him. It could be just a saving grace out of no good reason, but dumb luck. So look for the industry. Make sure you don't get too hung up on names like buyers or merchants. Try to find anything in the industry, anything in a specific retailer. Reach out to them. So the action item for this week is pretty simple. Find a retailer that you think you would have a good shot at. Go out there and just dig. Make a list, 2 or 3 people inside of that retailer that you think would be worth looking at, right? It's the .com buyers too. There are other people, even marketing people, right? Marketing people have ins and outs and they're able to pass stuff along. Just try and go find 2 or 3 people inside of a retailer that you would contact. Now, before you go contacting them, right? Let's get through the whole process. There's a way to contact that comes off a little better than most. But LinkedIn, powerful tool. Up next, we're going to talk about it. Walking into a store, boots on the ground. I love it. Some people hate it. But you can absolutely get really good information from walking into a store. So hope to see you next time.